Today, we're overclocking the MacBook Neo to unlock its new capabilities. When a Mac computer runs hot, it runs slow. The only moving parts on this whole machine are the keys on the keyboard. Well, and the trackpad a little bit, and I guess the hinge when you open up the screen. My point is, the Neo has no fan, and therefore no active way to move the heat off the CPU and the GPU inside. And therefore, once the Neo heats up, it has no other recourse other than to slow down its processors to cool back down. With normal usage of this thing, that's not a problem at all. These do tend to run a little hot. Apple may have overclocked the A18 Pro to make this a little snappier in a laptop, but most regular things you do on a computer from the perspective of the CPU are these tiny little bursts of compute. Little spikes of activity with pauses in between that are long enough for the heat to sort of naturally just drift out of the body of the computer, mostly through the keyboard, and a little bit through this slit that you can kind of see where the bottom plate attaches to the top of the computer. We can easily measure and see this with the MX Power Gadget tool, these little spikes of compute. This graph is just representing like 5 minutes of time of just using this computer regularly. But when you do something that makes this computer work continuously, stuff like transcoding or exporting video, rendering or exporting a bunch of photos you just touched up, or what do they call it? Bouncing your Logic Pro timeline to the disk. When the thing has to work hard and the process takes more than a few seconds, the heat in this processor shoots up over 100 degrees Celsius immediately, and whatever the process is, slows way down. Well, it turns out that you can speed this laptop up, and kind of by a lot. With only a few minutes of work, and I spent a whopping $11.99 on these Owl Tree thermal pads. I picked these ones because of this 12.8 watts per meter Kelvin. Higher numbers are better, and this is a highish number for the price. And I first tested doing this with a little sheet of copper in addition to the thermal pads, because heat spreads through copper really fast, twice as fast as it does through aluminum. And that's the whole point here. We're attempting to siphon heat off of the motherboard and move it to this aluminum bottom case. Initially, I wanted to move it first to a copper sheet inside the case, which would have spread it out over more surface area quicker, which would have made it work even better. But it turns out that the underside of this case isn't perfectly flat. And also, I was cutting this copper sheet with a scissors, which kind of leaves the edge a little gnarled, and I just couldn't get things to lay flat enough. Look at that thing. Yeah, that's not gonna work. You need a really good solid flat contact between everything, and that just wasn't gonna happen. And I also want this to be easy and cheap, so I don't want you to need different tools. All you need is a thermal pad and a pair of scissors. Oh, and something to open the computer with because they use these special screws. So I have the iFixit driver set because you need a P5 bit, a pentalobe 5 bit. The reason you need to cut it at all is because we only want to thermally bridge the motherboard to the bottom of the case, not the battery to the bottom of the case, because heating up a battery is bad. As many of you will be commenting below, erroneously expecting the additional heat we put onto this bottom case to be transferred to the battery itself, which it won't. I'll explain that later. So the basics. This thermal pad material, let me get it open here, is kind of squishy and gummy. And inside here, whatever this black cover is that's over the SoC, over the motherboard, is already thermally pasted to the chip, as we've seen with some others who've done this ahead of me. So there is no need to go modifying the actual Apple parts inside here. What I'm gonna be doing today doesn't necessarily void Apple's warranty, with a big fat asterisk on that statement. Oh, hello. Oh, thank you very much. The phantom memory me over here is just laying 1.5 millimeter thermal pads across the whole motherboard, so he doesn't have to know which parts of it actually get hot. And then over here too, because Andy from Thermal Techspert says this is the SSD and the controller for that, which can get hot with extended transfers and RAM swapping. And this will help with that speed also. And that's the whole entire thing. This case has no special move to get off like the MacBook Air does. It's just these 8 screws with a pentalobe number 5 bit from the iFixit toolkit. Oh, and 2 out of the 8 screws are longer, so pay attention to which screws comes from where when you're gonna put it back together. It's actually the 2 that are down by the trackpad. Those are different screws. I didn't pay attention to that. Took a lot of trial and error to get it back on. Something I wanna point out since we're in here, this black square is battery. You can see there's this shiny metal outline all around the battery. And it's kind of hard to show it, but that metal outline is ever so slightly raised up higher than the battery. And on the bottom case, there are these rubber gaskets in the same shape as the battery. I'm looking at my monitor, which is a mirror image. It's hard to trace something in a mirror. And these even further thermally separate the battery area from the CPU area. And there is absolutely, without any question, an air gap between the surface of the battery and the surface of the plate above it. So these two things are not touching inside here. Air is a very effective thermal insulator. That's actually why things like down jackets work. Inside the puffiness here, all of the down traps a bunch of air as a barrier between you and the outside world. And that air stops the transmission of your body heat from the inside of the jacket to the outer core. And the same thing works in reverse. Even though we're heating up this bottom plate up where the CPU is, that air gap over the battery is going to prevent that extra heat from reaching the inside of the battery. Here's some thermal imaging with this Neo running with the thermal mod, and I'm doing a Cinebench test, so it's heating things up. And you can watch the internal battery temperature not change thanks to iStatistica Pro. And that means that this mod is your free lunch. You're having your cake and you're eating it too. It's a rare treat in the world of usual trade-offs. A tiny little trade-off is that by allowing this computer to run a little faster, you're also letting it use a little bit more power to do so. And the battery in here is pretty small, so if you're constantly exporting big stuff, you're gonna eat through it faster. Which brings me to my clunky segue to today's sponsored segment, which I would argue is relevant anyway. This computer ships with a dinky 20-watt charger. Looks like this. And as you'll see here, the computer can accept a little over 30 watts. So you can charge it at about 150% of the normal speed if you get yourself a beefed up charger. And I actually talked about this thing in my other Neo video, but Anker makes this Anker Prime charging brick. It's not easy to make a USB-C wall charger sound exciting, so I won't. But this is a 160 watt charger. It's also got 3 ports on the bottom of it, and each of those ports can deliver up to 140 watts of charging power, which means you can charge the Neo at 30 watts instead of 20, while still having the extra capacity and port space to charge a camera and a drone, or a camera or a drone, while still charging your MacBook Pro at full speed. And according to Anker, due to their Power IQ 5 for intelligent dynamic power distribution, this charger delivers the same efficiency as using 3 separate original Apple chargers. So if you travel and you have lots of battery-powered things like me, it's nice to just have to bring one wall charger. I love looking at stats for stuff, and this delivers stats on a nice little screen that even auto-orientates it depending on how you have it plugged in. What a nice touch. Also, if you do have the new Anker Prime battery bank, this battery bank communicates with this Prime charger in a special kind of way so that you can plug 2 chargers into the same battery bank, causing it to charge at up to a whopping 250 watts. That is literally 12 times faster than the Neo charges out of the box. Oh, and there's an app. So if you like looking at live updating data and graphs, and who doesn't, you can see how much each port is putting out or how much the whole thing is putting out, and you can even set a timer so it automatically shuts itself off after a certain amount of time, if you're someone who worries about leaving stuff on overnight or whatever. So, I have explained how this thermal mod works. The only thing left to do is to show it in action. All the ice has melted from my coffee. I spent way too much time setting everything up. Oh, I guess the bit where Sarah brought me the donut doesn't make any sense if I already had the coffee on the desk. And yes, you can push these results even further with crazier and much more inconvenient mods. But this is so user-friendly. You just put the pads in, close it back up, and poof, it works even if it's just on your desk like normal. Let's start with Lightroom, because that test is far and away the hardest one on this SoC, which means it gets the best results. This is a Lightroom export of 529 photos. These are 33 megapixel raw images taken from my Sony a7 IV. I am politely asking Neo to crunch all of these into JPEGs and put them in a folder. This process uses all available CPU and GPU power together, which is why it will immediately and fully overheat this computer. And you can clearly see that in the default test. Once I hit start, we're looking initially at the processor speed of the P clusters. That's the performance cores of the CPU. And as the heat jumps really quickly to 100C, the speed of those CPUs drop dramatically from 4 gigahertz all the way down into the ones, ranging from 0.9 to 1.2 gigahertz. Also, looking at the power graph on the top, when we first start, it's pulling about 8 watts, but it will quickly drop into the 5 watts territory. And then it just runs pretty steady this way, and this test took 10 minutes and 35 seconds to finish. After applying the thermal mod, same test, same photos, same ambient room temperature, and there is no fan blowing directly on this thing. The temperature still jumps up, the processor speed still throttles down, but this time it's only throttling down to between 1.5 and 2 gigahertz, which is close to double the speed of the CPUs. Also, the total wattage is now hovering around 6 to 7 watts rather than the 3 to 5 watts from before. One thing I think is important to notice is that the actual temperature is the same. It's throttling the CPUs in both cases. We're not letting the CPU run any hotter. So you're not risking any damage to the computer. This is not like when you're overclocking a Windows PC where you just tell it to run faster and then it's up to you to keep it cool enough. We're keeping it cooler, so it's up to Apple to make it run a little better. We're allowing the computer to do more work at the same temperature because we're getting rid of more heat while it does it. And because of that, what took 10 minutes and 33 seconds for the stock Neo to do, the thermal modded Neo does in 6 minutes and 32 seconds. That is a massive improvement. And since you can see on the graphs that this is all sort of stabilized by the middle of it, that means these results will scale to whatever length of work you want this to do. Meaning if this was 5,000 photos instead of 500 photos, it'll still do this that same like 40% faster. 40% faster. Not everything I tested did that much better, and that's because the Lightroom test makes the most heat. So we had the most to gain from getting rid of heat. Next up, transcoding 4K footage so that you can edit videos on this bad boy. This doesn't use as much of the performance cores, and actually most of it happens in the media engine, which I can't even measure, so I don't really know what's happening, unfortunately. But it's clear to see that it's getting super hot. So when I tried it with the thermal pads installed, it did go a bit faster. Transcoding a 40-minute long 4K clip in 7 minutes and 41 seconds compared to 8 minutes and 17 seconds without the thermal mod. But for me, anyway, a real video project has dozens of clips, not just one clip. And as far as like the longest things, I have 2 of them because I'm always shooting with 2 angles. So this won't just be that 40 seconds I save, it'll be several minutes. Onto a Logic Pro export. Well, this is a much quicker process than I thought. Without the mod, it took 25 seconds to bounce this song, and modded, it did the same thing in 22 seconds. But a win is a win. I've talked about this next thing a lot. When it comes to video editing, because of Apple's media engine, the CPUs and the GPUs aren't doing very much during the export of a video project. Unless you have a ton of video effects and like animated titles, which I don't use a ton of it. And since the media engines are really efficient, I don't think they make that much heat. Again, you can't measure that though. So when exporting a video, a 4K video, there was actually no difference between the modded and the unmodded MacBook Neo. Both of them took just about 10 minutes to export a 7-minute video in Final Cut Pro in 4K. Ah! It finally happened. So many of you have commented worrying that this might happen. And in the end, it was no big deal. Next up is video games. I tried to fire up Assassin's Creed Shadows, but this computer truly cannot handle that. It's a RAM thing. But it can handle Cyberpunk 2077 at a disgustingly low resolution. And would you looky there? With the thermal mod installed, this actually runs without overheating at all. I think the GPUs are just more efficient at their job than the CPUs are, which further leads me to believe that Apple probably overclocks the A18 Pros in here just to make it more responsive when doing everyday stuff, which is actually great. This computer works exceedingly well at what it's supposed to be used for. And on that note, more good news about doing this thermal pad mod. When you're using this computer the way it was intended, which I would argue is probably the majority of the time it's actually on your lap versus being on a desk, it will not heat up the bottom. One of the bigger worries I think people had about modding their MacBook Airs, well, aside from accidentally destroying your laptop, which is possible, although unlikely, is that it would be super hot on your lap when you're using it now. But that's only true when you're pushing it. Watching videos, writing emails, texting, shopping online, those activities don't even create enough heat for it to get to your lap. When you're doing that, this computer's running on like 4 watts. That is no power at all. It's like a phone. Now, if you decide to export something you were working on and then to continue with this thing on your lap, yes, it's gonna heat up. It's gonna heat up quite a bit and it's gonna be uncomfortable. But also, you're gonna run it out of RAM if you try to multitask with this thing at full tilt. So your experience would be poor in doing that anyway. If you are a true multitasking power user, I'm sorry, but you're just gonna have to bite the bullet and get yourself a M5 MacBook Air. Because the Air is basically Brock Lesnar up against the redheaded girl from Stranger Things in the Octagon when comparing their multitasking capabilities. Because of that air gap battery separation and the fact that you're not creating an overall higher temperature for the SoC by doing this, there is no danger in performing this modification. This will not prematurely wear out your battery, other than the fact that it allows you to use more power, which can cause you to charge your computer more times in the same number of years. But it can also save you human time in that same time period. And you can't buy time. Time is priceless. It's really hard to put a dollar value on one's time. Actually, shoot. Just buy the M5 Max. That'll save you a lot of time. That's a fact. This video is over now. Goodbye. I didn't do any 3D printing.